Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the latest edition of Wow, Lynch, Wow, dedicated to filmmaker David Lynch and inspired by the triumphant return of Twin Peaks. A disclaimer to everyone who isn't caught up on all 4 episodes of the new season of Twin Peaks: there will be spoilers, they will be aplentiful, and they will begin any second. So viewers and listeners, be warned. Who killed Laura Palmer? That was the driving storyline in the original Twin Peaks. But in the new Twin Peaks, the driving storyline deals with Cooper's journey out of the lodge. This journey effectively began when Laura Palmer tells Agent Cooper that he can go now. Cooper asks when he can go, which causes Laura to approach him, kiss him, and whisper something into his ear. We don't know what she said, but whatever it was likely very important. Laura is then sucked away screaming in the midst of trippy flames in a horrifying display that appeared to terrify Cooper. Cooper then sees the curtains open, revealing a white horse normally affiliated with Sarah Palmer. Later we see Coop with Mike in the arm. The arm says 253, time and time again. Then it says Bob, 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 3 times. And then it tells Coop, go now, twice. Cooper walks down a narrow hallway and tries to open a curtain, but is prevented from doing so by some unseen force accompanied by electrical sounds. He walks back down the hallway and winds up in an empty room. He walks back down a hallway that appears to be the one from before. Here he sees Leland, who tells him to find Laura. Leland looks deeply concerned, and the expression on Cooper's face indicates he shared Leland's concern for Laura. Cooper then walks through a curtain with an accompanying electrical sound, which appears to be the same curtain he was blocked from entering earlier. We are then presented with an even trippier looking floor than usual, perhaps indicating some type of disorientation from Coop. We see the smooth stone face of the statue, and Mike informs the arm that something is wrong. The arm tells Mike, my doppelganger. Coop walked towards the menacing, omnipresent gaze of the statue, and he opens another curtain that appears to open a window into the real world, where he is overlooking Bad Coop driving around. All of a sudden, the statue morphs into the evil tree doppelganger, and it comes storming towards Coop with a fit of rage. It's swinging its branches wildly at poor Cooper, and the tiles begin moving around on the floor in disarray. Cooper is off balance and off guard, and the doppel arm exclaims, non-existent. The floor beneath him opened up and swallowed him into a dark liquid, and then it appeared like he was falling through space. Then he actually hit the outside portion of the mysterious glass box, and he managed to slip right through the exterior and right into the box. This was all happening when Tracy was seducing poor Sam with coffee and there were no guards in sight. So Cooper's just chilling out, floating around in the box and looking around, and then some weird thing happens where multiple boxes within a box start appearing and sometimes disappearing. Next thing we know, Cooper descends back into the space fall, crashing his way down into what one could only assume represents the realm of non-existence. He falls onto a balcony that oversees a vast ocean with a menacing violet sky. Coop takes in the view for a moment before eventually finding an entrance inside. Once inside, Coop sees an eyeless woman on a couch. She reaches out for his hands as a fire blazes in the room. The woman ignores Cooper's questions and beckons him to sit beside her, where she begins feeling around on his face. Suddenly, a loud knocking can be heard from outside the dwelling, and the eyeless woman signals to Coop to keep quiet. Coop looks around towards the sound, and his gaze is drawn to an electrical socket that has a number 15 above it. The knocking continued, and Coop moved in for a closer look at the socket, much to the dismay of the eyeless woman. Yup, that's a number 15 all right. The eyeless woman warns Cooper about something that appears to be important before ultimately leading him up a ladder as the banging resumes. They arrive atop a small box in an unknown realm that appears space-like. There is a mechanical device of sorts on the top of the dwelling with 2 dials on it. It also has a lever on its side, and the eyeless woman pulls the lever, sort of like a slot machine. This causes some type of electrical current to flow through her, and after a moment of this happening, she floats off and away before sinking down into the abyss. Cooper looks on, once again horrified. So Coop's hanging out on top of this box trying to recompose himself when suddenly the floating head of Major Briggs sails by below. Briggs says, "Blue Rose," and then he floats away. Cooper goes back down the ladder, and the minute he gets to the bottom, he appears to sense that something is wrong. The socket, he notices, now has a number 3 on it instead of the number 15. This time there is a different woman on the couch in the room, and she looks exactly like Ronette Pulaski. I've read theories that this represented an aborted child of Laura's, but whoever she is, she's credited simply as American Girl. Anyway, the woman looks at her watch, which changes from 2:52 to 2:53. The socket seems to call out to Cooper, and he approaches it. Meanwhile, Bad Coop is driving around. His clock says 2:53 as well, and his car lighter begins making noises like Good Coop's socket. The woman tells Coop, "When you get there, you will already be there." Meanwhile, Bad Coop is driving all over the road, to the point you would really think he would pull over and maybe try to get away from that buzzing socket inside the car. The knocking noises resume in the room, and the woman tells Coop, "You'd better hurry, my mother is coming." So Good Coop gets completely sucked through the socket, except for his shoes, and at this point, I'm thinking that the 2 Coops are going to switch places via sockets. Bad Coop drives off the road, flips his car over, and begins to get sick. He also sees the curtains from the red room. Then we're introduced to what appears to be a 3rd Cooper, who we later learn is a guy named Dougie. He was paying a prostitute named Jade, and it was revealed his left arm went numb. It just so happened he was wearing the green ring on his left hand. Jade goes for a shower, and Dougie collapses, overcome by sudden illness. He crawls around on the floor aimlessly until he becomes sick before red curtains appear. He disappears in a loud, thunderous clap which startles Jade. Bad Coop is still getting sick, and he sees a vision of Dougie seated in the lodge. Then we see Dougie with Mike, and Mike informs him that he was manufactured and that he served his purpose. Then Dougie's hand begins to shrink, and he says,
"That's weird."
After all the weird stuff that's happened to this point of the journey, that was fitting dialogue. The ring slips off his hand, and dark smoke billows up from Dougie's head, and he vanishes, leaving nothing behind but the ring and the mysterious gold pearl, which seems to be a key piece to this puzzle. Mike looks on baffled. You'd think by now nothing could possibly surprise him. Good Coop is reborn, and he reemerges from the electrical outlet and rematerializes, completely intact save for the fact he had no shoes. Jade comes out of the shower, and she doesn't seem alarmed by Dougie's new haircut, his new suit, or his thinner physique. She marches him outside, but he forgets his shoes. She gets them for him, and Coop's brain has been reformatted to the point he doesn't even know what to do. So Jade reluctantly puts them on and asks him if he has his keys. But of course, all Cooper has are the keys for his room 315 at the Great Northern. An aggravated Jade concedes that she will now be giving Dougie 2 rides. As Jade pulls away, a would-be assassin pulls up, and he informs his buddy waiting down the road that Dougie might be with her. The other would-be assassin prepares for the kill. Coop was examining the keys from the Great Northern just as Jade was approaching a speed bump. They hit the bump, the keys fall from Cooper's hands, and this stroke of good fortune saved him from the shaky aim of the other would-be assassin. Jade drops Dougie off at a casino, gives him $5 and tells him to call for help. Coop is reminded of Laura telling him he could go now when Jade uses the same language, and Jade warns him that he may have had some type of stroke, but she doesn't seem to really give a hoot about Coop. She pulls away and Cooper is mesmerized by the confusing automated door. The security guard outside glances over as Coop struggles with the mechanisms of the door, but he doesn't give a hoot about another drunk stumbling in. The next security guard doesn't give a hoot about Coop either, and he tells him to go get some change. The change lady? Yet another one who doesn't give a hoot, although she appears to recognize something was off, and she had a green ring on that might prove worthy of attention. Coop watches on as a fired-up gambler hits a jackpot and bellows.
Hello!
Coop then glances over. He sees a mysterious image from the lodge floating above a machine. He goes over, follows the routine he just observed, and bellows,
Hello!
and he wins the mega jackpot. He then goes to another machine and repeats the routine.
Hello!
An old lady watches on and Coop sees another image. And he points it out to the old lady. But the old lady was having none of it, and she gives Coop the finger. She then greedily eyes his quarters after he wandered away, looking around for prying eyes before discovering the overhead camera. She then gives the camera the finger and appears to be awfully perturbed. Then Cooper won a 3rd mega jackpot. The old lady sees this and immediately goes to the machine Coop pointed out for her. She pulls the lever, and she too has now won a mega jackpot. Coop's winning ways continue, and every time he wins the jackpot, you could see the numbers 253, with the 25 cents and the 3 on the right, once again bringing that number into play. The mean old lady who gave Coop the finger and was ready to rob him is now all lovey-dovey.
Mr. Jackpots! Mr. Jackpots! Tell me which one.
Cooper points out the next winner to the sweet old lady, and she wins another mega jackpot. And boy, was she lovey-dovey. Coop then runs into Bill Shaker and his wife Candy, who mistaken him for the real Dougie. Shaker reveals just enough language for Cooper to observe and learn so that he can advance to the next level. And Candy is the first person who seemed to exhibit genuine concern for the state of Cooper. After all this winning, Cooper is ready to leave, but they stop him on his way out and lead him into a back room. They give him his winnings, and Coop informs them that he wants a cab ride home, having learned those words from Bill Shaker. So they get him a limo instead, and they also subtly warn him that they're watching him when Coop notices the overhead camera. After initial difficulty finding the red door, the limo driver drops Cooper off. An irate Mrs. Dougie Jones, Janie E., She comes storming out of the house, and she's none too happy about his 3-day absence. Hell, he even missed Sonny Jim's birthday. Janie E. drags him into the house, and she's ready to tear him a new one. But then she sees all the money, and she realizes Dougie won big at the casino.
Don't tell me you hit the jackpot.
Mr. Jackpots.
Then she becomes all lovey-dovey, much like the mean old lady before her. There is ample evidence of Sonny Jim's birthday, with balloon mania running wild. Is it possible that the young boy of the woman yelling 119 attended this very same party, given the red balloon in the background? Surely Sonny Jim had more than enough balloons that he could spare one. We next see Cooper seated on the bed in his PJs next to clothes that were laid out for him. He sees a vision of Mike in a red chair. Mike tells Cooper, "You were tricked." And he shows him the mysterious gold pearl left behind by the real Dougie. Then he says to Cooper, "Now one of you must die." Janie E. busts in and she's miffed that Cooper isn't dressed yet. Then she realizes he has to urinate. At this point, amazingly, Janie E. doesn't seem the least bit aware of Dougie's peculiar behavior. She has him go to the potty, and Cooper urinates for the first time in 25 years. He seemed to have had some difficulty controlling the stream at first before finally settling into a groove. He then emerged from the bathroom and saw himself in the mirror for the first time in 25 years. Janie E. then proceeded to dress Dougie. She notices his weight loss, but at this point, she inexplicably still isn't on to the obvious fact that something is very wrong with Dougie. She didn't know how to put the tie on, so she left that for him. Sonny Jim then appears, and he's the first person to immediately recognize Cooper as someone with a pure soul and a reformatted brain. Sonny Jim smiles, and him and Coop exchange thumbs ups, which is eerily similar to the old scenes between Cooper and the warm milk waiter. Janie E. is cooking up a storm in the kitchen, and when Coop enters the kitchen, he has a tie on his head. Sonny Jim is amused by this, and he's smiling. Janie E. is using every square inch of that giant kitchen, and Cooper is really confused and unsure of what to do. Sonny Jim guides him to his seat like a 10-year-old boy showing his younger brother the ropes. There is an owl cookie jar behind them, and Sonny Jim goes in for a bite of his pancakes. Cooper's still baffled, though, so Sonny Jim pours some syrup for him. Cooper finally gets around to taking a bite of food for the first time in 25 years, and he looked extremely satisfied by this. Then Janie E. came over and she gave Cooper a cup of coffee in Dougie's sippy coffee mug. Upon hearing the word coffee for the first time in the story, Coop seemed to definitely recognize a relationship between the word coffee and pleasure. This was the moment that the entire journey built up to through the first 4 episodes. Special Agent Dale Cooper's first sip of coffee in 25 years. And what an awesome journey it was, culminating in this absolutely amazingly epic moment.
Here's your coffee.
Hi!
I don't know about you, but I can't wait for episode 5 to see where Cooper's journey brings him next. Thanks for watching, everyone. Hope you enjoyed. Enjoy the new episode, and have a good night.